What if attraction wasn't random at all? What if it was less like lightning striking and more like a compass pointing towards something deeper? We've been taught to think attraction is a mystery. Hormones, chance, algorithms, a twist of fate. But what if the pull you feel towards someone isn't an accident? What if it's a reflection? A reflection of who you're becoming, what you value, and the kind of life you're building. Think about the people you've been drawn to. There's a pattern, isn't there? Maybe they're confident, maybe they're reckless, maybe they're kind. But always something in them resonates with something in you. That's not coincidence. That's your moral compass at work, quietly steering you towards certain traits, certain lives, certain futures. And here's the twist. If your character is underdeveloped, your compass is broken. You'll mistake chaos for passion, manipulation for mystery, validation for love. You'll be magnetized to the very people who reinforce your weaknesses instead of drawing out your strength. Attraction then feels like a curse, unpredictable, painful, humiliating. But what if you could fix that compass? What if you could become the kind of person whose very presence draws people of substance? Not because you're performing, not because you're perfect, but because your integrity quietly signals who you are. Aristotle, the father of virtue ethics, believed this was possible. He believed attraction was not just an accident of nature, but a response to the way we live, the habits we practice, and the virtues we embody. And when you understand that, the entire game of dating and relationships changes. Aristotle didn't think ethics was just for philosophers in togas. For him, ethics was a blueprint for living a good life. And by good, he didn't mean comfortable or easy. He meant excellent, a life that expresses your highest potential. His theory of virtue ethics is simple but radical. Who you are is what you repeatedly do. Your habits shape your character, and your character shapes your destiny. In the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle wrote that virtues aren't abstract ideals, they're lived practices, cultivated through action, refined over time until they become second nature. Courage, honesty, temperance, generosity, these are muscles you build, not traits you're born with. But Aristotle also understood something modern dating apps ignore. Virtue doesn't just make you good, it makes you magnetic. We're drawn to people not just because they look appealing, but because they embody qualities we secretly wish to cultivate in ourselves. A person of courage inspires courage. A person of integrity evokes trust. A person of generosity softens our defenses. This is why Aristotle's ethics speak directly to attraction. He would tell you, stop obsessing over whether someone likes you. Instead, ask what your habits are signaling. Ask whether your life expresses virtues worth responding to. Because like attracts like at the level of character. If you're careless with your own growth, you'll be attracted to and attract people who mirror that carelessness. Aristotle believed the highest form of friendship and, by extension, love, was not based on pleasure or utility, but on mutual excellence. Two people committed to helping each other grow in virtue. When you grasp this, attraction stops feeling like roulette and starts feeling like justice. You don't get lucky with good people. You become a person good people recognize. Most of us live as if attraction is a lottery. We scroll, swipe, and pray to be chosen, hoping chemistry will appear like magic. But what Aristotle offers is a quiet revolution. Attraction isn't luck, it's alignment. You draw toward you what you cultivate within yourself. Look at your own patterns. How often have you felt drawn to someone who seemed exciting but later turned out to be toxic? That's not just their fault. It's your compass reflecting your current state. When you're insecure, arrogance feels like confidence. When you're lonely, chaos feels like passion. When you're ungrounded, unpredictability feels like freedom. But when you practice virtue, courage, temperance, honesty, self-respect, something changes. Your nervous system calms, your standards rise, the frantic hunger for validation fades, and suddenly, the people who once thrilled you now bore you. Their drama feels cheap, their games feel transparent. Your compass has recalibrated. Aristotle's insight is liberating because it gives you agency. You're not condemned to keep falling for the wrong people. You can change who you're drawn to by changing yourself. Attraction then becomes a feedback loop, a mirror showing you who you are becoming. And here's the paradox. When you stop trying to attract and start trying to become, you attract more. Real confidence doesn't perform, it radiates. Integrity doesn't chase, it draws. Self-respect doesn't plead, it commands. Aristotle would say the goal is not to win people, but to become excellent. Excellence, in his view, is not a trait, but a habit. 1,000 small choices, how you speak, how you work, how you treat others, accumulate into a character that others feel before you say a word. So the core idea is simple. If you want better partners, stop looking outward. Look inward. Build virtues like muscles. Practice habits that align with your highest self. Over time, your presence will signal a kind of quiet gravity, and the right people will orbit you naturally. Attraction then is no longer a mystery. It's justice. Think back to the last person you couldn't stop thinking about. Maybe they seemed magnetic. Their presence lit up the room. Their attention felt like sunlight on cold skin. In the beginning, it felt like you had stumbled into something rare, almost faded. But slowly, the shine wore off. You started noticing the little cracks, the unreliability, the inconsistency, the games. Maybe you stayed, thinking your patience or loyalty would bring out their real self. Maybe you left, blaming yourself for being too much or not enough. Or perhaps your story is the opposite. You're the steady one, the good one, always being told you're kind, supportive, a great listener. And yet, somehow, you keep being overlooked. They go for someone else, someone more chaotic, more dramatic, more fun. You tell yourself attraction is unfair, random, that decent people finish last. Aristotle would look at these patterns and see something different. He'd say your relationships aren't random at all. They're reflections. Every attraction you feel is a mirror showing you something about your own state of being, your desires, your virtues, your wounds, your blind spots. When your character is underdeveloped, you mistake performance for depth. You confuse chaos for passion. You romanticize traits that actually harm you because some part of you is still unsettled, still searching for validation in the wrong places. This isn't an accusation, it's an invitation. Because if attraction is a mirror, then every heartbreak you've endured is feedback, not fate. It's telling you where your compass is misaligned. It's pointing, quietly but clearly, toward the work you need to do inside yourself. Now, imagine what happens when you begin that work, not in a dramatic overnight transformation, but in quiet daily habits. You start telling the truth more often. You draw boundaries without apologizing. You cultivate self-respect not as a performance, but as a baseline.
You begin living in small ways the virtues you admire in others. Slowly, imperceptibly, your attractions shift. The people who once felt irresistible now seem shallow, even exhausting. The people who once seemed boring now feel calm, steady, alive. Your nervous system relaxes because it finally recognizes safety. Your standards rise without effort because you've risen. This is what Aristotle meant by a virtuous life. Not moral postering, but a character so grounded in excellence that your desires themselves recalibrate. Attraction stops feeling like a curse or a gamble. It becomes a compass that points you toward mutual growth, mutual respect, mutual joy. If you recognize yourself in these words, in the repetition of disappointments, in the ache of being unseen, in the craving for something real, take this as a signal. Your compass isn't broken. It's waiting to be recalibrated. And the moment you start practicing virtue, you're already turning the dial.
Here's the shift most people never see coming. Attraction is not a mysterious force floating above us. It's a moral echo. The kind of people you're drawn to and the kind of people drawn to you is shaped by the habits, boundaries, and virtues you practice every day. Change your inner life, and your outer attractions recalibrate almost automatically. Aristotle's virtue ethics isn't about acting pious or pretending to be perfect. It's about training your character, like an athlete trains a muscle. Courage is a practice. Honesty is a practice. Self-respect is a practice. And every time you repeat those practices, you build a moral posture, an invisible stance that signals to others what kind of relationship you're available for. That's why when you grow in patience and self-respect, the same bad boy or chaotic girl who used to seem intoxicating suddenly looks exhausting. Your nervous system stops reading volatility as passion. And just as quietly, people with steadiness, integrity, and mutual respect start to feel magnetic. It's not magic, it's alignment. This is the real revelation. You don't have to perform or chase to become attractive. You have to embody. When you embody virtues, even imperfectly, you become a different gravitational field. People still notice your looks, but now they're also sensing your steadiness, your boundaries, your inner compass. It's the difference between a flickering candle and a steady flame. One pulls in moths, the other warms a room. So the next time you find yourself thinking, why do I always attract the same kind of partner? Flip the question. Ask instead, what part of me is this person mirroring? And which virtues can I practice so my attractions shift? That's Aristotle's timeless invitation. Live the character you admire, and the love you seek will start seeking you.
Theory without practice is just another feel-good idea. Aristotle's whole point was that virtue only becomes real when it's practiced, like a craft, a discipline, a daily rhythm. And the beauty is, you don't have to become perfect overnight. You only have to begin training your inner muscles a little each day. Start with honesty with yourself. Notice the patterns of attraction in your life without judgment. Who are you drawn to and why? What parts of you are those people mirroring back? Simply naming the pattern is already the first step of recalibration. Next, establish small virtues you can actually practice. Instead of saying, I'll be virtuous, pick one habit for a week. Tell one uncomfortable truth each day. Set one boundary and keep it. Follow through on one promise to yourself. Do one act of generosity with no expectation of return. Each small practice is like laying a brick. Over time, you're building a moral architecture inside yourself, an inner posture that people can feel without you saying a word. Then, curate your environment. Aristotle believed virtue is easier when you're surrounded by people and settings that reinforce it. If your social media feed, your friends, or your routines constantly drag you back into chaos, gently edit them. Replace some of that noise with voices and spaces that model integrity, depth, and calm. Finally, reflect regularly. At the end of each day, ask, did my actions today reflect the virtues I admire? This isn't self-criticism, it's self-alignment. Even a 2-minute journal entry can anchor the shift. What happens when you do this? You stop feeling like you're acting good or trying to be attractive. You simply are. Your habits become your character becomes your signal, and your signal draws people who resonate with it. That's how you move from random attraction to intentional alignment, from chasing to drawing in. Picture yourself 6 months from now. Same face, same name, same life on paper, but something invisible has shifted. You're no longer scanning the room for approval. You're no longer replaying texts, wondering why someone hasn't chosen you. Instead, you're standing straighter, speaking more clearly, laughing without calculation. You've stopped performing and started inhabiting. That's the quiet power of virtue. The small daily habits you've practiced, telling the truth, keeping promises to yourself, drawing boundaries, being generous without scorekeeping, have formed a new identity beneath the surface. You're no longer trying to be attractive. You're radiating stability and self-respect, and people can feel it. The old patterns lose their pull. The partners who once seemed irresistible now feel like noise. The people who once ignored you now lean in, sensing something different. You're not broadcasting desperation or performance or chaos. You're broadcasting steadiness. Your attraction patterns have become a compass instead of a roulette wheel. Even more important, you've stopped thinking of love as something you win through charm or perfection. You've started seeing it as a meeting of equals. Two people drawn not by accident, but by shared virtues. You're no longer the person who gets chosen. You're the person who chooses. This is the identity shift Aristotle was pointing toward. Character as destiny. When your inner life changes, your outer life doesn't just improve. It reorganizes itself around who you've become. Take a breath and picture that version of you. That's not a fantasy. It's simply you, practicing virtues until they become reflexes. And once they're reflexes, you'll notice something powerful. Attraction stops being a mystery. It becomes a mirror of the person you've steadily, quietly chosen to be.
If this message resonated with you, if you felt that tug of recognition while listening, don't let it fade the way most insights do. Save this video, revisit it, share it with someone you know who's still caught in the trap of thinking attraction is only about looks or luck. Sometimes a single conversation plants the seed of an entirely different life. And if you're new here, welcome to Psyche Unmasked. This channel exists to bring the timeless wisdom of thinkers like Aristotle, Plato, and others into the messy realities of modern relationships. If you want more videos like this, practical, honest, and thought-provoking, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. It's free, and it's the easiest way to make sure you never miss the next lesson. Let's start building this shift together.